It's looking better and I'm loving the weather. Things are coming together. Now I'm smiling again.
Hope is the reason there's a changing of seasons. And if we keep believing, we'll be smiling again. It's the first day of the best days of my life.
All because hope saved my life. I survived, and now I'm living and giving hope. Show me the way. This is the first day of the best days of my life. Oh yeah.
This is the day I have been waiting so long for.
It's a chance to see what I've been longing for. Ooh, because hope saved my life. I survived. Now I'm living. Showed me the way. This is the first day. 'Cause it saved my life. Saved my life. I survived. Now I'm living. Show me the way. This is the first day. So I keep on saying, things are changing. I keep believing. Hope is all we need.
Things are changing. Things are changing.
You just wanna see it.
Hope is all I need.
We need hope. Hope for the world. Hope of the nations. For every boy and girl. He put a rainbow in the sky so that we would know we don't have to cry. So wipe your tears. Say goodbye to fear. The worst is over and the best is here. So keep on hoping. Keep on praying. Keep believing.
I'm gonna make it. Yes, I'll make it. If I just have a hope.
I'm gonna make it.
I'm gonna make it.
You're gonna make it.
You're gonna make it. Oh yeah.
Sun is shining, wind is blowing, winds of change. We can make it. We can make it if we just hold.
Good morning. Isn't that a great song? Every time I hear it, I just love that song. Hope. Hope saved my life. And that's really what we deal with, is hope in trying to save lives. It is good to be back. And as a matter of fact, that song, if you've ever seen the movie Unconditional, you recognized it. But if you haven't seen that movie, I would highly recommend it. It's about Papa Joe, who is a man in Nashville, Tennessee, who works with inner city kids, and it is a spectacular movie. I would highly recommend that you see that. It is good to be back. It's always good to visit home. It's good to have worship in English. It's always a good thing, right? Not Cebuano. I can sing and I can understand things that are happening. This past Wednesday, we went over to Watts Ferry Road in West Monroe, Louisiana, and we're talking to the elders. And okay, yes, we got to see some of the Duck Dynasty guys. But we were talking to the elders, and I was saying the same thing to them. And I really enjoy English as opposed to Cebuano worship. And he looked at me and he said, "Nobody told you? Tonight is Cebuano night." And I was like, "Oh, it's just my luck." 10,000 miles and I still get it. But it is always good to be here. We got to come home and see Chandler graduate in May from ACU. So that's always special for a parent. And now Chandler has a job, so that's even more special for a parent. So I know that the school will be blessed over at Westbury with Chandler. We're looking forward to that. You know, it's through all those works we show, the sponsorships, the education, the feedings. That's how we strive. That's how Lilia's Place strives to spread hope. And we're spreading hope to people who have none, who has a hopeless existence, if you will. And, you know, spreading hope involves being a servant. And we're told that. It involves helping those around us, whether it's in the Philippines or whether it's here in Meadows Place. In Romans 15, 1 through 2, yes, I am now old. Thank you very much. I have glasses. Romans 15, 1 through 2 says, those of us who are strong and able in the faith need to step in and lend a hand to those who falter. Not just do what's convenient for us. Strength is for service, not status. Each one of us needs to look after the good of people around us, asking ourselves, how can we help? And it's through this serving that we can all spread hope. Hope involves something that God has promised in the future, but it hasn't happened yet, or else there would really be no need to have hope. The word used in Greek is elpis, and that literally means a favorable and confident expectation. It has to do with a positive vision of the unseen, of the future. It's not wishful thinking, oh, I hope something happens, or a vague aspiration. It's not wanting things to turn out well, while remaining, maybe it will and maybe it won't, but remaining uncertain in your mind. Hope, the kind of hope that I'm talking about, the kind of hope that we have, is the absolute certainty we have that God is good and His promises are true. Now, hope can be difficult, right? We've all waited on God from time to time. You have to keep a keen spirit of expectancy. You have to wait for God. And while you're waiting, try not to become bitter or angry. Psalms 25, 20 and 21 says, guard my life and rescue me. Do not let me be put to shame, for I take refuge in you. May integrity and uprightness protect me, because why? Because my hope, Lord, is in you. G.K. Chesterton, the famous author, once had a quote about hope, and he said, hope means hoping when things are hopeless, or it is no value at all. As long as matters are really hopeful, hope is mere flattery or platitude. It's only when everything is hopeless that hope begins to be a strength. Now, I wanted today to really talk about hope. And the reason, I can come up here and I can show you pictures. I can tell you stories that will make all of us sit here and bawl all morning. And that's not what I'm about today. I want to talk about what God can do, not only through me, but what God can do through all of us in spreading hope. No one who has ever put their hope in God has been ashamed. Do you think that you and I will put all of our hope into God? And even though we may not see anything immediately, even though we may not feel anything, and what if, even though it gets worse, do we think that God will forsake us? Do you think that if we keep hoping in Him, trusting in Him, and reminding Him of His promise to us, that He would fail us? That's impossible. Psalms 31, as we saw on the video, says, be strong and take heart, all you who hope in the Lord. What happens when we stop hoping, when we stop believing? Sometimes our faith may die or wither. You know what? That's when we miss out on those blessings. That's when we deny God the ability to work through us in providing hope to those around us. When we're hoping, when we're waiting on God, somehow some way, he will come through. He will bring us out on the victorious side, because we know for a fact God's way is always the best way, and God's timing is always perfect. It never implies that we will be without struggles or hardships. We know the famous verse in Romans 5 where it says, we also see glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character, hope. Verse 5 says, and hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. God teaches us to wait. God teaches us to hope. It was Isaiah who tells us to hope in the Lord. He will renew your strength. Will we just barely get along? No, he says we will soar on wings like eagles. We will run and not grow weary. We will walk and not be faint. When we wait and put our hope in God, he will energize us. But oh, the mistakes when we don't. When you lose hope, you're in trouble. Because when you lose hope, what's left? What's left when you can't hope in God and you can't believe that? Will you give in to the things of this world, the things you see with your eyes? Or are you going to put your hope in the things that are unseen, the things of God? You know, our lives can change in an instant, in a day. Everything can change. I'm probably a pretty good vision. I have that of my life as well. A lot has changed in my life over the past 4 years. You know, too often we put our hope in things we shouldn't. We put our hope in ourselves. We put our hope in our jobs. We put our hope in doctors. We put our hope in other people. But you know what? All of these things can fail. That's why our hope, the hope of a Christian, is rooted in God, because he can never fail. I'd like to now look at the best example that I can find of someone who had every reason to lose hope in his life, and in his life how it changed so drastically and so quickly, and that's, of course, the story of Job. So I'll be reading from Job 19. I'm going to start in verse 13. Job 19:13. He has alienated my brothers from me. My acquaintances are completely estranged from me. My kinsmen have gone away. My friends have forgotten me. My guests and my maidservants count me a stranger. They look upon me as an alien. Wow, so Job loses his family. He loses his friends. It seems that everything is going away. Verse 16, I summon my servant, but he does not answer, though I beg him with my own mouth. So not only his friends and his family, but his employee, someone he pays, is not even paying attention to him. So surely through all this, his wife will be there for him, right? Verse 17 said, my breath is offensive to my wife. I am loathsome to my own brothers. Even the little boys scorn me when I appear. They ridicule me, which in Jewish tradition, that's a big deal, because you're taught to respect your elders. And even the little boys are not respecting Job at this point. Verse 19, all my intimate friends detest me. Those I love have turned against me. I am nothing but skin and bones. I have escaped with only skin of my teeth. So this man has lost everything you can lose. His family, his friends, his servants, the little boys in the town. Have pity on me, my friends, have pity, for the hand of God has struck me. Why do you pursue me as God does? Will you never get enough of my flesh? Verse 23, oh, that my words were recorded, that they were written on a scroll, and that they were inscribed with an iron tool on lead, or engraved in rock forever. Well, the amazing thing is that they were. We've got the words of Job. And what a story that is. And if you stop there, it seems hopeless. Job has lost it all. He's lost his sons, his daughters, his wife, his family, his friends, his servants. But look at the very next verse. Something amazing happens to Job. Job holds on to that hope. Verse 25. After all of this, Job says, I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end he will stand upon the earth. How many of us could say that going through what Job went through? Obviously, Job had the kind of hope that we all need. So how do we reach those around us? How do we spread this hope to those that we meet in our work or as we're in the stores, as we pass? One of the interactions I want to look at is a very familiar story. It's the story of Jesus and Zacchaeus, something we all heard in Bible school when we were little. This story is found in Luke chapter 19. We'll read the first 10 verses. Luke 19. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man there by the name of Zacchaeus was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but being a short man, he could not because of the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to Zacchaeus, "Come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, "He has gone to be the guest of a sinner." But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half my possessions to the poor, and if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount." Jesus said to him, Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save what was lost. So a very familiar story, but I want to look at it from a little bit different perspective. A couple of points about this and how we can apply that to our lives as we're seeking out those around us. Number one, Jesus went after him, didn't he? Jesus sought Zacchaeus. It wasn't the other way around. Just like we should go out to those around us. We should seek them and not wait for them to come in to the church. We need to be out looking for them. I love Paul Harvey's quote. He said, "Too many Christians are no longer fishers of men, but keepers of the aquarium." So my challenge is for all of us, myself included, is to get out of the aquarium and let's bring some more fish in. Number 2, Jesus cared for him. We must care enough to find out more about those around us. And Jesus called him by name, which may seem like a small detail, but that's very important, especially in what we do. When we deal with people who've been stepped on and kicked to the side their whole life, if you call them by their name, wow, that means a lot to them. So we have to care for them. And Jesus fellowshiped with him, didn't he? Did he say, "Okay, Zacchaeus, come on into the synagogue and let's fellowship"? No, that's not what he said. Where did he go? He went to his house. We must be willing to go to them, into their homes, into their culture, and into their circles. Jesus shared the truth with them. Again, it's not about just saying, "Hey, how you doing?" We need to share the truth of Jesus with those around us. And lastly, Jesus taught him how to live. Jesus taught him how to give. We exist to disciple people who become followers of Jesus. Jesus taught him about honesty and generosity, and we must do the same with new followers in Christ. We're here to be a family for them. Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A, had a saying you may be familiar with. He said, "If you wish to enrich days, plant flowers. If you wish to enrich years, plant trees. If you wish to enrich eternity, plant ideas in the lives of others." And that's what we strive to do at Lily's Place. I know you strive to do here as well, to plant ideas in the lives of others. We do this every day when we're there. A lot of times it's like this. It may be through a sermon, but I would say more often than not, it's through simple acts of love. That's really the cornerstone of what we do. It's providing education. It's providing health care, giving them food to eat, or just letting them know that they're worthy and that they are loved. It's through all of these actions that hopefully what we're doing is reflecting God's love through that we can lead them to that ultimate hope where they, in turn, will be able to see God and spend an eternity in heaven. You know, there are many ways that you can partner with us, and we are so blessed to be part of this family. I mean, you guys have been amazing over the past 4 years. This past June 1st, as Mark said, was our 4-year anniversary. It seems like just the other day, on May 31st, 2009, I was standing up here and you were praying over us, and that's been 4 years ago. And God has just done way more than we ever imagined. Just like it says on the cornerstone in this building, so much more than we could ever imagine. You know, we had our ideas in this little box, and they were good ideas. There was nothing wrong with them. But God had an idea about the size of that. And we're still working on it. We're not there yet, but we're going to get there through your help and through help of others. I'm going to go through a couple of slides now and kind of give you a real quick update on kind of what's going on at Lilia's Place and let you see some beautiful faces and some of the things that we're doing. We just finished our most recent VBS. We did this year Seeking the Treasures of God. And we had this at our school/church building, and we had about 100 children there. And we were actually turning them away at the door. We had to limit it to 100 because they would have kept coming. We're actually located right in the middle of a squatter area. And that's where a lot of our members of our church are from as well. So we had to stop. We just ran out of room. So you can see that's one of the shots in the morning of a VBS. And we did a 5-day VBS, very similar to what you would see here. And it was hot, I will tell you that, because there was no air conditioning in that room. When you have 100 kids plus about 10 adults, it was pretty warm. But we had a great time. We did some arts and crafts. And the thing about the children that we work with, they never get to do arts and crafts. They never get to play. So we're hoping that some of the things we do will let them be kids again. Let them make funny sunglasses and masks and things. We did drama presentations for them at VBS. That was a big hit. And this is our Christmas boxes that we had. There was 76 boxes that we put together for each of our children so that they would, at Christmas time, have something to unwrap. And they weren't shipped all nice and neat like that. All the little boxes were stacked up and had all the bubble gum and clothes and everything we had to separate and put into boxes, but that is definitely a labor of love. So we got them all wrapped, only to have the kids just go crazy. And it was a beautiful day. And I won't show you in this picture, but some of the children actually kept their box and did not open it that day. And we were like, well, why aren't you opening your presents? We got these for you. The reason was they didn't have any other presents, and they wanted to wait and open them on Christmas morning. That was the only presents they were going to get. So it was a very blessed time for our kids. And a neat thing, it wasn't just the kids this year. Because of the ladies at Sugar Grove and the collection that you did when I was here in November, we were able to get 21 baskets of food. And this is a basket of food that has, you can see bread, it has vegetables, fruits, it has canned meats, it has a big bag of rice. So that was a big blessing for our families. And again, thanks to you guys. This is a picture of our church. This was at our 1-year anniversary in October. We're running about anywhere from 90 to 100 on a Sunday morning. So we're a very vibrant, very growing church. And based on that number, we're probably one of the 3 or 4 biggest churches in Cebu City right now, which is just amazing. And of those 100, about 60 or some are children. So thank goodness Lisa does children's ministry, and I do something else because she takes care of all 60 of the kids for our Bible school. That's one of the shots of our worship. And we have 2 interns from Cebu Bible College, which is there in Cebu City. And they actually do the worship and the leading of singing. As I was talking about, it's all in Cebuano, so I can't do it because my Cebuano is small. And the scary thing is, speaking of Cebuano, is our 2 little girls, Lilia and Remy, they're 6 and 3, are speaking in Cebuano to each other, which is really scary for me and Mom. Because they were talking the other day, and we thought they were just gibberish, and one of our workers came up and said, "Did you know they're actually talking to each other in complete sentences?" Like, no. Like, uh-oh. We're in trouble. So we better learn that language fast. After church, every Sunday, we try and do a lunch for our families because we know a lot of times if we don't do that, there will be no food that day. So we try and provide lunch for them to take home. Here's another picture of our Sunday school. And again, the arts and crafts that we try to do. These are our teenagers. I teach the teenage class. So she has 60, I have 5. So that's about right. But 5 beautiful young ladies, and we just have a blast. It's a lot of fun working with them. They're bringing their friends. They're telling them about church. So a lot of times we'll have more than that. But we're just so excited about these young ladies. And school, of course. School is a cornerstone of what we do. This is from our recent graduation in March of this year. The tops are kindergarten and the bottom is grade 1. So at our next school year, when we get back, we'll start the next school year. We'll have a K, we'll have a first grade and a second grade this year. So we're adding 1 grade a year to try and expand the Lilius Place School. So in the Lilius Place School, we'll have about 35 or so children this next school year. But all told, we'll sponsor about 75 children to go to school, so the rest of them would be in a public school. And part of the sponsorship, when you sponsor a child, is lunches. So we give our children lunch 3 days a week, again, to make sure that they're fed and that they don't have to go home or come to school hungry. And our 35 that are at Lily's Place also get breakfast and a couple of snacks a day as well. We also try and take our kids on field trips a couple of times a year, which is very unusual there. In a public school, you would never have the opportunity to go on a field trip. This is a trip to Crocolandia, which as it seems would be lots of crocodiles, and they had lots of really big crocodiles, but it's more like a small zoo, so we got to take our kids to see the field trip. And quickly, I want to tell you a little story about Benji. This gentleman in this picture to the left, his name is Benji. And Benji and his 3 children started coming to school with us this past school year. So from left to right, it's Antonio, Alma, and Angel. Now, Antonio and Alma are his biological children. Angel, Benji's homeless, by the way. That bicycle, that's where Benji lives with his 3 kids. Before we took the kids in to go to school, they would just get on the bike, ride around Cebu City all day looking for anything they could sell or anything they could eat. So we got his kids in school this past year, and we come to find out Angel, the one on the far right, is not his biological child. Benji found Angel abandoned on the street at less than 1 year old. And so what does Benji do? A homeless man, he takes this child in. And I started to bring the video of Angel. Angel was our valedictorian in kindergarten. And so our valedictorians, we like for them to say a little speech. And Angel, the first thing she said was, "Thanks to my papa for taking me in." And I mean, can't we all say that? Thanks to God for taking us all in. And thanks to God through him that we, not me, that we can all do things like this. This is a picture of some of our new kids. So I said we're bringing on another class. So this is our new kindergarten class, a part of them, not all of them. So we're always looking for child sponsors. If you want to do that, just contact me or Lisa or anyone on the board or website, and we'd be glad to get you matched up with a child. And you may be saying, well, that girl in the bottom right looks awfully old for kindergarten. Well, that's actually our new teacher, Hannah. Hannah, we're very fortunate. Hannah's a Christian that we've known since we've been there. She just graduated. She was probably in the top 100 out of about 6,000 students. So we're blessed to get Hannah. I had her picture up there because we needed sponsorship for teachers as well, for their salary. But, thanks be to God that when we were in Arkansas visiting some churches, a doctor stepped up and said, you know what? I'll pay her salary for the next 5 years. So, it's just things like that keep us going. And it's just amazing what God has done for us and through us. And lastly, one of the things that I like, or I'm the most excited about, is something called ALS, or the Alternative Learning System. This is where our adults, or anyone 16 and older, can go back and get their GED, which is a big deal in the Philippines, because if you don't have your education, you can't work anywhere. Like if you wanted to work at McDonald's in the Philippines, you had to, at a minimum, be attending college to just work at McDonald's. So any job at all, you have to have at least a high school diploma. So this is a program that allows us to help our parents get an education. The working with kids takes a long time, right? 12 years of school, it's kind of hard to see that. But if we can get our parents, in the meantime, in 2 years, they could go from not having any education to having a GED. Wow, how wonderful would that be? And the really neat thing is, the city of Cebu is offering scholarships to graduates from this program to a local university. So how cool would it be if one of our homeless moms, when we got there 4 years ago, goes through this program and then gets her teaching degree and is a teacher at Lilia's Place? That just sends chills up my back. Like I said, I am still overwhelmed at what God has done. Because if it was up to me, we wouldn't be anywhere near where we're at now. God is amazing. And I challenge all of you this week to think about that hope that we have. Take that hope and share it with someone around you, whether it's your workplace or whether it's a stranger. Maybe you see someone on the side of the road. Maybe you can share that hope with them this week and make their lives have meaning the same way that our lives do. If there's anyone here this morning that wants to learn about that hope, if you don't know about it, or if you want to talk to the leadership about anything at all, please come forward.